Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Wendy, and I'm your worship associate today and also your intern minister. I am joined today by Reverend Sian Wiltshire, our minister, Jacob Swetland, our director of music ministries, and Danielle Lewis, our director of religious education for children and youth, and we welcome you all here this morning. So whether you've been here 30 years or 3 or 10 months or 10 minutes, and whether you strolled, rolled, zoomed, ran, danced, promenaded, any of these things into the building, we are happy that you have joined us here today. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. We're a community of many different identities and beliefs. We are bound together not by dogmas or creeds or fears, but rather a covenant to create a welcoming, inclusive, and loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. These things have been changing rapidly in the world, as you've probably noticed. And today, Reverend Sian will be talking about how we might meet these moments together through our faith as Unitarian Universalists. How do we become stronger together? In the spirit of building community, let's recognize our many volunteers who have helped put the service together today. Thank you, volunteers. We're so grateful for everything you do. And roomers, it is now the time where we would ask you to silence your cell phones. And Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat as we worship today. Let us acknowledge that our church property rests on the sacred ancestral homelands of the Ahachman and Tongva peoples who seek justice and responsible stewardship. We begin our worship with the lighting of this candle. And this morning, Jeffrey is lighting our candle, so I'm going to lead you in the reading. We'll start that now. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
I've got to turn this off.
Please rise in body or spirit and let's sing our opening song.
As we sing of hope and joy today, some know only anguish and despair. How can we lift our voices in this way, while some have pain and misery to spare? If a crumbling world we would renew, we must sing no ordinary song. If a noisy gong will never do, in every breath compassion must belong. Let this song our greatest hopes contain, laughter of a well-fed child in tune. Roofs o'er every heartbeat, its refrain, its harmony from peaceful cities tune. Sing of joy while hammering
Our opening words this morning come from the Reverend Ethelred Brown, who is one of our first Black Unitarian ministers. He started a Unitarian church in Harlem, and he constantly faced challenges within our denomination and without it. Nevertheless, he persisted because he knew of the importance of Unitarianism in our country. So these words that he wrote, it seems like they could be written to apply today, and especially this week. As we face a troubled and puzzled world, we too are troubled and puzzled. As our fond dreams remain unrealized and our bright hopes of yesterday wither into the bitter disappointments of today, our courage fails, our spirits droop, our faith trembles, and frustrated, we bow our heads in despair. But nevertheless, we come to this hour in this sacred space with this sacred community, and we seek to recommit ourselves to peace in our time. But first, we must be at peace with ourselves and one another. May we know that without love, there will never be peace. So teach us, therefore, to love.
Hearts open, minds awake, change us now for heaven's sake. Leave us not alone in hatred's wake. Show us how to love. Show us how to love. Show us how. Show us how to
Hearts open, souls awake. Rules we made, we now must break with our very own lives at stake. Show us how to love.
We must learn to love. We must learn. We must learn to love.
Show us how to love. Well, our story in our time for all ages this morning has a little idea about how to show love. So once upon a time in the land of Harmony Valley, there lived a group of animals that were, they were pretty different from one another, as they often are, and they have very different voices. So for example, the lions love to roar, right? And the birds love to sing, la, 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 la. And the rabbits, they would whisper to each other. And then the turtles, though, they just mostly went, they just nodded to each other. Yeah. Now, it wasn't always easy for everybody to get along, right? With all these different voices, but they had one rule that every voice mattered. That's what created the harmony. But one day, there was this peacock named Flash. He sauntered into town. He had the biggest, shiniest feathers, and he'd ever seen, and boy, did he love attention. He climbed onto the tallest rock and said, "Friends, listen to me. Harmony Valley would be so much better if we just had one voice." Mine. Well, the animals were, really? I mean, one voice? I mean, how could we do that? Well, Flash said, puffing up his chest, "Too many voices make things messy. If I make all the rules, then everything will be perfect. No more arguments, no more noise, just tranquility and order." At first, some of the animals thought, well, that sounds kind of nice. I mean, we'd fight a lot less if we let Flash decide everything, thought the turtles. But the birds and the rabbits weren't so sure. But what about our songs and our whispers? "Oh, you don't need those," Flash said. "I'll do all the talking." To prove his point, Flash started making new rules. No more chirping, no more whispering, no more nodding. Only loud, flashy roars are allowed. That's how a great kingdom should sound. Well, the lions were thrilled because, roaring was their thing, right? But soon they realized that even their roars didn't exactly sound like Flash's. He would say, "Louder, bigger, like this, squawk, squawk."
Try again.
Thank you. You've all heard a peacock. You know what they sound like. He said, that's how the kingdom should sound. So the lions, as I said, they were thrilled. But then they were like, oh, well, maybe they don't know how to roar. So the rabbits tried whispering quietly to each other about how unfair it all was, and Flash heard them and said, "No whispering allowed. And anybody caught whispering, they're going to be sent to the silent cave." Dun, dun, dun. So the birds stopped singing, and the turtles stopped nodding. The lions were too scared to roar because maybe they'd get it wrong. So Harmony Valley just wasn't harmonious anymore. It was way too quiet. But then one day, a clever snake came along named Luna. And you all know it's the Chinese New Year's this year. It's the year of the snake, so. All right, so this clever snake named Luna, she went from house to house and said, "Hey, something's wrong here." And she whispered to the rabbits, and she nodded to the turtles, like, "Come on, let's go this way." And chirped softly to the birds. "If we all use our voices together, Flash won't be able to silence us," she said. And the animals were like, "Oh, well, okay, let's try this." So the next morning, Flash stood on his rock, ready to make another speech, and Luna gave the signal, and suddenly the valley erupted with sounds, roars, chirps, whispers, and even some turtle stomping. Flash tried to talk over them, but he couldn't. He said, "Stop this noise, you'll ruin everything." "No," said Luna, "you're not the only voice that matters. Harmony isn't about having the same voice. It's about different voices making music together." The animals cheered. Flash just realized he loved, and he left in a huff. From that day on, Harmony Valley returns to its noisy, beautiful self, and messy. The animals roared, they whispered, they sang, and nodded, knowing that the valley was the strongest when every voice was heard. And so Harmony Valley lived happily ever after, not perfect, but free. And that's our story for today. Let's sing our children and their teachers out to the religious education classes if they would like to go. Sean's getting political today, just so you know. Now, when people think of an apocalypse, right? How we're going to survive apocalypse, this is kind of what they think of, right? This picture of ruined cities on fire, and there's roaming gangs ready to take everything, every man for himself, right? Of course, an apocalypse is an event that involves destruction, damage, something that's huge, the idea is the end of the world. But maybe it doesn't have to be a physical end of the world per se. Maybe it's about the destruction of values that we hold dear. And some people feel this way. They feel it's a sense of the ending of all that we hold dear. And for some, it may very well be that way for them. Did you know that there's been a massive increase in passport applications and visas to move to another country? Like 2,300% increase. People are promoting applications like Signal, which is really hard for the government to break into. It's encrypted if you're doing texts. People are going into hiding. They're moving out of the country. I know 3 people right now that are actually seriously visiting, doing the research to move out of the country. Climate activists have already been tried so hard to stave off global warming. Now we can't even mitigate it. Now, I'm not a hugely paranoid person, but I really appreciate those that are, because they're often right. And I think I'm being converted into how they're right. And I want to put a name to this fear because it's something we actually haven't named specifically in this congregation, in part because as a church, we're not allowed to influence anybody's opinion about a specific candidate or political party. But once they're elected, okay, let's put a name to this fear. Oh, can you, Kaden, can you click on the slideshow? There we go. Okay, that's the name of it. Fascism. Now, fascism is a far-right political ideology characterized by authoritarianism, nationalism, militarism, suppression of rights, scapegoating, and corporatism. Now, you might be thinking, oh, not in our country. We're the world's greatest, most amazing democracy that has ever been around. That couldn't happen here, except that it has in the past. You think about McCarthyism in the 50s. Think about the internment of the Japanese in World War II. Even right off the bat, the Sedition Act of 17-something or other, right off the bat, we were looking at fascism. Actually, our history is replete with examples of us heading in that direction, but then staving it off. So where are we? Are we in the middle of fascism right now? I think we're heading down that direction because we have a fascist leader, someone who wants to be, although I don't think consciously is saying, I want to be a fascist. But here's an interesting, there's an interesting book called The Anatomy of Fascism. Whoop, there we go. And it's written by Robert Paxton. He was a leading historian of fascist leaders and movements. Now, he wrote this book called The Anatomy of Fascism in 2004. So this is way before our president came along. So he says, here's the qualities of a fascist leader, all right? So 1, cultivates a sense of overwhelming crisis beyond the reach of traditional solutions. Crime is terrible here, which is actually not true, it's going down. They're eating the cats and the dogs. Secondly, they exhibit the superiority of the leader's instincts over abstract and universal reason. You know how he talks about, actually in this book, he talks about truthful hyperbole. in his book. If you look on Twitter, there are thousands of mentions of the word biggest, best, and smartest. My personal favorite is, I know words, I have the best words. He knows XYZ better than anybody, whether it's ISIS or taxes or tech or nuclear arms. He has the biggest deal ever, even though that's actually not true. Secondly, or thirdly, underscores the need for authority by natural leaders, almost always male, culminating in a national chief who alone is capable of incarnating the group's destiny. I was saved by God to make America great again, he said on Monday. Ascribes to the belief that one's group is a victim, a sentiment that justifies any action without legal or moral limits against its enemies. It's a witch hunt. It's all fake news. I'll be getting even. Demonstrates the need for a closer integration of a plural community by consent if possible, or by exclusionary violence if necessary. There are only two genders, male and female. And immigrants, they're gang members, they're poisoning our country, they're taking your jobs, the largest invasion in the history of our country, he says. And finally, promotes the beauty of violence and the efficacy of will when they are devoted to the group's success. January 6th. He called the people there warriors, and that it was a day of love. Now, people don't think of themselves as fascist or even supporting fascism. And I'll even concede that there might be some good people that may have good intentions, that maybe they think that strong arming and bullying is what we need, but that doesn't change the reality that we are headed toward a fascist state. I believe this. My paranoia has risen to that level. Me, the Pollyanna one. So, how do we survive fascism, at least in the next 4 years? Well, a colleague of mine has a really good idea. This is, we have this new thing, there we go. Breaking and Blessing. It's by Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. He wrote this poem called How to Survive the Apocalypse. He wrote this. And as I read through this, I invite you to consider what you think he means by these things. He says, first, learn to listen. Not only for enemies around corners and hidden places, but for the faint footsteps of hope and resistance. Hone your skills, aim your heart toward kindness, and stockpile second chances. Under the weight of destruction, we will need the strong shelter of forgiveness and the deeper wells that give the sweet water of welcome. We have a place for you. When the world ends, we must not add destruction to destruction, not accept a beggar's bargain to fight death with more death. In order to survive the apocalypse, any apocalypse at all, we have to give up the counterfeit currency of self-sufficiency, the mistaken addiction to competition, the lie that the last to die has somehow survived. I want to invite you into a moment of meditation to consider that poem. What does it take to survive an apocalypse? Take some deep breaths. How do you think we're going to change the outcome of this apocalypse? When you're ready, let's join the choir in singing.
Open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
Okay, so how do we survive this apocalypse, if I can use that term? One way is to actually to look those who have survived oppression and what they can teach us. And guess what? Sean Parker Dennison is not only a Unitarian Universalist minister, a colleague of mine, and a poet that you just heard, he's also the leader of our Pacific Western region. So he leads the regional staff. And he also happens to be a trans man. So let's start with the first stanza of his poem. First, learn to listen, not only for enemies around corners in hidden places, but for the faint footsteps of hope and the whisper of resistance. Personally, I don't think that resistance is whispering right now, but we may get to that point. Things that we can do are protect the decent and hardworking members of our communities who are undocumented or whose parents are undocumented. One of the things that has been kind of interesting this week, I got a call early on when someone asked me, so has your phone been ringing off the hook? I said, no, actually, it really hasn't. But then afterwards, I got a few pastoral calls of people kind of freaking out. But what I really loved was how many of you sent me emails saying, hey, here's some things we can do. You guys are awesome. Thank you. One of them was Maureen, and she sent me this thing about red cards. Do you guys know about red cards? Okay, some people may not know about them. I've got some up here. So red cards are, and they're not red because I didn't have red paper at home, but it's just simply a card that explains what your rights are if ICE comes to your door. Okay, I printed them out in Spanish and in Ukrainian. I don't know if our Ukrainians will be targeted, because let's face it, those are not the people that Trump is really upset with, right? It's people of color. So, and most of our Ukrainians are white, they're Eastern Europeans. So if you would like to have a red card that you keep out, or you know someone who would like to have a red card, I've got some up here for you. It's both printed in the language and in English, and they can hand it to people if ICE shows up at their door. The other thing we can do is boycott companies that support the Trump regime. For like Tesla, for one. Any of those that advertise on X or Fox News. Actually a year ago, a bunch of companies left X. Things like Disney, IBM, and Warner Brothers, they all left big advertisers because of the anti-Semitism, but they're now going back. The people's voice was heard then, and they need to be heard again. Boycott when you can. Hope is hard to find and we need to keep it alive. Hope is not this sort of panacea, like, oh, let's just all be positive and Pollyanna like Reverend Sean. It is the lifeblood that keeps us going in hard times. And one of my favorite words that I discovered in doing research for this sermon is the word apocalyptimist. I love this word. I actually really love just saying it, apocalyptimist. An apocalyptimist is a person who acknowledges the seriousness and potential devastation of a dire situation like the climate crisis, but still maintains a hopeful outlook, believing that humanity can overcome challenges and find solutions to create a better future, even if it requires significant effort and change. Who here is an apocalyptimist? Thank you. That's most people. Phyllis, I didn't see you raise your hand. No. In other words, what an apocalyptimist, you know what another word for apocalyptimist is? It's a humanist, right? Humanists believe in the human spirit, that we make our own challenges, but we also can solve them. Okay, so be an apocalyptimist or a humanist, whichever you prefer. Number 2. Hone your skills, Sean tells us, hone your skills, aim your heart toward kindness, and stockpile second chances. Hone your skills, aim your heart toward kindness, and stockpile second chances. A few months ago, the wonderful Phyllis here sent me a poem she wrote after the election. I asked her if she'd be willing to share it with you all, and she is. And I think it speaks to how many of us feel.
Good morning. I wrote this the week after the election, trying to get my own thoughts in order. I am humbled. We thought truth-telling and real facts would be enough. It wasn't enough. We thought a record of bipartisan work and with a bipartisan achievement would be enough. It wasn't enough. We thought evidence of lying, criminal behavior, ignorance, and incompetence would be enough. It wasn't enough. We thought a candidate with demonstrated competence and qualification, along with a message of hope and change, would be enough. It wasn't enough. We thought being on the right side of history would be enough. It wasn't enough. What would have been enough? The possible answers will occupy the thoughts of the partisan population for months and years to come. For me, I am humbled. I am reminded that my worldview is not the only meaningful one. I believe in truth-telling, real facts, bipartisan work, competence, hope, change, and being on the right side of history. I will continue to hold dear those people and institutions whose vision includes those values. But I acknowledge that more voters in the last election found other values, which I may not clearly understand, more compelling. Those voters are part of the varied tapestry of humanity I also hold dear. We share the future. Thank you.
For those of you who may be new, Phyllis has been a leader in our denomination for a long time, we'll just say. She brings wisdom and hope everywhere she goes. She told us, hold to progressive values, truth-telling, facts, bipartisan work, competence, hope, change, and being on the right side of history. To my mind, it's not that they didn't work per se, so maybe they need a second chance, and a third, and a fourth. We're going to need to hold dear to those people and institutions whose vision include these values. I have a little bit of good news for you. Fascist regimes don't last. Not in the long term. And it's not like they can't do a tremendous amount of damage in the meantime, but ultimately good people rise up and oust them. And that's us. And many other people as well. Okay. Part 3 of what Sean tells us. Oop. There we go. Under the weight of destruction, we will need the strong shelter of forgiveness and the deeper wells that give the sweet water of welcome. We have a place for you. Protect the LGBTQ people in our communities. Many of them are going into hiding, literally hiding, and leaving the country. Make sure you know that you are with them. Be vigilant about bigotry. Be vigilant about bigotry. Reach out to people that they know that they are welcome here, that we will protect them and hold them in our hearts with love. Hey, Kaden, next slide. We have to give up the counterfeit currency of self-sufficiency, the mistaken addiction to competition, the lie that the last to die has somehow survived. Giving up self-sufficiency, addiction to competition. There's an interesting op-ed that came out a little while back, about a month or so ago, by the columnist Perry Bacon from the Washington Post. And he wrote a thing about what to do instead of doom scrolling. And one of them was this, one of the 5 things to do instead of doom scrolling. Join a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Seriously, he said this. He said, I recently started regularly attending a UU service in Louisville. Prior to the election, church members engaged in politics in a practical way, encouraging congregants to go canvassing in opposition to a proposed constitutional amendment here to create a school vouchers program, and it failed. By the way, we can deal with issues, we just can't promote specific candidates. So at least on Sunday, I was in community with people working on concrete, discrete local issues. Post-election, he says, I was relieved to be in a space where we openly discussed shared values and ideals we felt had been rejected by America in electing Trump, such as the support of immigrants and LGBTQ plus people. Being with people who share your values, even if sometimes we don't agree on every single one of them, is so important. We cannot change the world alone. We need one another. We need to support the people and institutions that make a difference, right? So, here's a little bit of a summary of what we can do. Look for those that resist and join them. Boycotts, red cards, send them out. Be an apocalyptimist. Hone your skills toward kindness, hold on to your values, walk humbly, and give listening a second chance. Be the sweet water of welcome, or drink from it if you need it. Let the vulnerable know that you've got their back. And be in community with those who share your values and who want to not head toward a fascist regime, but who want to preserve democracy. And it's not just UUs, obviously, right? But we need one another. We need to understand that we're not alone, that we are part of interdependence. You know, one of the interesting things about the word apocalypse is, you know, my Latin and Greek background, right? Apocalypse, ellipsis is the Greek word. And it actually doesn't mean destruction or end of the world. What it means is revelation or an unveiling. I feel like our dark underbelly as a nation has been revealed, right? This is the fascism, the authoritarianism, the bigotry, the oppression. But maybe we can create a good apocalypse, a new type of revealing that tells us that love always wins. When we put love at the center, it will always win. This is why they don't last. These fascist regimes don't last. So we need to make this one as short as possible. Okay. And why don't fascist movements last? Paxson tells us why. Because good people write poems. Good people speak out. Good people join UU congregations. Basically, good people resist. That is how we survive an apocalypse. We go on living our values, supporting the people and institutions that matter to us, and we will go on no matter what. You with me? Yeah. All right, I want to hear a little bit louder. Come on. All right. Excellent, because I know we can go on. Let us sing.
Please rise in body or spirit.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, though troubles wait at every turn, I know, I can go on. When sorrow heals my soul and burdens make me strong, though troubles wait at every turn, I know, I can go on. With friends in my heart, with family in my song, though troubles wait at every turn, I know, I can go on. And though the journey is long, the destination is near, though troubles wait at every turn, I know, I can go on. So friends and say will tend, and family sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know, we will go on.
In the spirit of building this community, we are about to do our offertory. At this time in the service, we amplify the spirit of generosity by sharing half the plate to receive an organization that shares our values. And this month, we are supporting the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. So your donation to this fund helps the UU to respond flexibly when disasters strike in our communities. And as you know, our next door community in Los Angeles and beyond have been adversely affected by the fires, and many people in our community have been affected, and their communities do need that hope and that support to rebuild and just be sound in the future. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check. You can go through our website. You can use an app called Vanco Mobile. And if you're a roomer, you can also simply use the basket as it's passed. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. And as always, thank you so much for your generosity. Let us sing, We Gather Together, a song that expresses our gratitude for the gifts that we share.
We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Now is that time for the important events and people in our lives, and you are invited, one and all, whether you're a member, a friend, a visitor, to participate in this weekly ritual that we call Joys and Sorrows. I'd like to invite Judith Stamper up here. She's one of our pastoral care team members, and she will be there to assist you in lighting one of the candles. So if you've come here today holding something in your heart, moments from the last days or weeks or hours, something that struck you at the core, and if you'd like to honor a profound joy or sorrow, you are invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward to light a candle up here. If you'd like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it out on a slip of paper that the ushers have, and you can raise your hand if you still need one. They'd be happy to bring it over to you. If you're a Zoomer, hey Zoomers, you're invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat, and then Judith will light a candle for you. So once the roomers are done lighting their candles, I'll read all the joys and sorrows out loud. And then I invite you also, as music is played, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. So please come forward. So John and Mifanwi, today is their 40th anniversary. I kind of hope it's okay to share, as Mifanwi told me. She said, and no big fights, just lots of little discussions. All right, Kristen M., she lit a candle of joy. She says, my nephew Danny got engaged on December 26th to his lovely girlfriend Sarah. Congratulations, Kristen. Yes. I love blooms. I love that. This makes me happy. All right. We've got a couple of actually things about birthdays today. So Elizabeth Kay, who is one of our teachers, and she's in there, but she sent this to me ahead of time. She said, please light a candle of joy for me. She says, because happy birthday to her dear friend, Rachel L. She says, who is beautiful both inside and out, and I am privileged to have you as part of my life. And we've got another birthday coming up. Lori Kay said to please light a candle of joy for Sharon B's birthday coming up on Wednesday. That's Sharon Ball. So she says, happy birthday, dear friend. So happy birthday, Sharon. Early birthday. All right, Elizabeth Kay also said, it's great to be back in the living after being out all week with the latest nasty bug going around. Take care of yourself and stay healthy. She says also, after some worrisome GI issues, my doctor ordered an endoscopy and colonoscopy. Good news, both procedures are done at the same time. Yay, 2 for 1. One and done. And yes, I am aware of the horrid prep process. Wish me luck, she says. Okay. All right, and Laura GB, she wrote, lit a candle of joy. She says, there are not enough words to express my gratitude for the beautiful celebration of life for Clover. We did this a week ago yesterday. Clover loved this congregation, and so do I. Yeah, it was a beautiful service. And Rachel L., yes, the same one who's having a birthday today, she said that her son, Evan, who's aged 11, will be starting a new school this week after many months of struggling in his former traditional school program. So we hope that all goes really, really well. And Brianna Malone, who is a teacher, by the way, she lit both a candle of joy and hope. She said, for a suicidal transgender youth who's been triggered by the recent political events, they came to understand that living is an act of resistance. For us, remaining is resistance. Amen. Then we had an anonymous candle. It simply says, I am scared. Yeah, there are people here who are scared, deeply scared. Oh, let's take a deep breath. Let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations, as well as all the hurts, sadness, and fears, whether they've been spoken or remain silent in our hearts. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. We are not alone. Please join Judith in a spirit of prayer.
These are words from Laura Jean Truman. They've been adapted. Great Spirit, please keep my anger from becoming meanness. Keep my sorrow from collapsing into helplessness. Keep my heart soft enough to keep breaking. Keep my anger turned towards injustice, not cruelty. Remind me that all of this, every bit of it, is for love. Keep me fiercely kind. Blessed be.
We are about to extinguish this chalice, but I did want to give a nod to Jeffrey, who lit our chalice today. He has been with us for about 10 years. He's an actor and performer, and for the first time in a very long time, he is in our choir, who has done a beautiful job today. And now, let us extinguish this flame. Let us join together. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And thank you so much for being here this morning. If you are a guest in our congregation, a visitor, or someone who has not yet been known to us, I invite you to become part of this beloved community, and it is a beloved community. If you would like to know more about our church, we invite you to either stop by the welcome table in the courtyard or contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. Zoomers, you are welcome to stay after and chat with one another online. We want everyone to feel part of this beloved community. So please reach out and we will get you connected. And I turn you over to Reverend Sean for some lovely announcements.
Okay, there's so much going on in this church right now. One thing I have been meaning to mention to you, I bring this up every once in a while about scams, right? They're out there. With the fires that are going on in LA, there's lots of scams of people asking you to give, right? One of the ones that looks so legit is the Red Cross of California. There is no Red Cross of California, there's only the Red Cross. So if you're ever going to give, go directly to the website that you know. One of the reasons why I like the UUA's Disaster Relief Fund is I've used it before and it goes directly to the congregations. It goes, basically the minister has the discretion about where it goes in the congregation so they know their people's needs and what they're gonna be. And believe me, there are a lot of them right now. About 50% of the people in our Pasadena church have been evacuated or unable to be in their home. 18 homes have been destroyed. From there, in our troop church, 2 of the staff have lost their home. And again, also about 50% of the congregation is without space. Now, most are staying with friends and family, but our wonderful Carol Rohr has been actually working on trying to see if there's ways that we can help, and I'm in touch with people. I just want you to know I'm in touch with people about how we can help in the future, which might be actually just cleaning up, helping them clean up their campus with all the ash and things blown down and everything. So, very thankful for the rain. So I just want to mention all of that to you. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. So next Sunday, we've got the RE visioning. We would love to see absolutely everybody here. This is us brainstorming about how we can grow our RE group. And the funny thing is that nobody knows actually how to do this, okay? So that's why we need all of your brain power. You know that UUs have the highest number of degrees of any denomination out there. We need your brain power. Doesn't matter if you're a parent, we need everybody to help us with this one. So come on out, and I promise I won't make it more than an hour long. And then there's a presentation today. We've also got our Climate Justice Revival, which if you didn't know, so we started doing this last spring, and we just meet periodically to keep moving forward. And Craig raised your hand, so he's gonna be leading a group. We're gonna be in the Pat Robitaille room, which is just inside this door at the end of the hallway to your left. And you can find Craig and everybody there as we keep little steps moving forward in dealing with climate justice issues. And if you're looking up there on the screen and you see Daniel's Hall, the Robitaille Room, what does that mean, the Victoria Room? We have some lovely plaques over here to tell you all about these wonderful, amazing people who have done such wonderful things for our congregation. And part of that is what we're celebrating with that is that we have an endowment presentation that Dave Carlson, Dave, where are you? There he is, will be giving. It's a short presentation just about what our endowment is and everything. But one of the things about our endowment is that it lasts forever. Like, this is an ongoing way to help our congregation. And if you're like me, thinking like, well, I'm not that old. You know, I don't even have a will, right? I don't have lots of big money to give. Doesn't matter, right? Everybody can help create our future. The endowment fund is to help support our church. So the interest from it, we use it to help support just the budget of the church as well. But we wouldn't be able to build that sanctuary without our endowment. We couldn't have moved here without the endowment. What was it, 12, 13 years ago? We couldn't have done it without the endowment. The endowment, even though we're not using it for that, it tells when we get our, loan, right, our mortgage, that we can say we've got this endowment, right, that backs us up. It's our safety net. It's everything to support the church. And everybody can be a part of it. One of the things I loved about our Nashville church, when I served there as an intern, they were about a 450-member church. And what they did is they said, when it's your birthday, give your birthday amount to the endowment. Like, what a clever idea, right? So you give like $30 or, in my case, 58. But, you give it everything. And, I did some calculation. I thought, okay, well, that was a 450-member church, say an average of 30 per person. Now, there was a lot of, older people there as well, but not everybody was able to give. That's over $13,000 a year into the endowment. That's pretty impressive. And even if we did, it would be around about $4,000 every single year that we could do that if we did that sort of thing. And that's how we help our church thrive in the long term, long before I'm ever gone, when our kids are grown. This endowment will help nurture this community. So think about that and come and hear what Dave has to say about all of that. Okay, deep breath, everyone. Remember, hold dear those people and institutions who fight for democracy and hold religious liberal values. All right, let's sing our recessional song.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with difference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out, with difference destroy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with
This service is over. Let our service continue.